Hey guys, this is the Rapid Reflections podcast. I'm Wesley. I'm here with the boys. We'll just go around the circle and introduce ourselves. So yeah, I'm Wesley, as I said before.
I'm Roddy.
I'm Tom.
Yeah. So we want to talk about sort of our backgrounds and where we all come from. And,
Yeah,
why we're here.
Great, I guess we can start with what we all do, I suppose.
Yep.
Tom?
So I am doing my Masters in Physics at Adelaide Uni at the moment, doing a project on applied superconductivity.
Mhm.
And before that I did a Bachelor of Science majoring in experimental and theoretical physics, and let me tell you, there are a lot of memes in there which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
Roddy, what about you?
Currently, I'm studying a double degree with a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Mathematical Science.
Yeah. And I'm actually doing exactly the same thing as Roddy. So we're colleagues in that sense. And yeah.
That's right. We should say at the Adelaide University also.
Also, yeah.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
This
Yeah.
podcast is not
Yeah.
sponsored.
Yeah, we're doing this at our own passion project thing.
Yeah. And the double degree in maths, was that partially because of the depression in physics?
Well, what I can say, I think I had a lot of preconceptions coming into university about what mathematics was, and then finally when I suppose got around to properly studying mathematics, I realised that it was not what I thought it'd be, and then it turned out that I fell in love with it, so I think I thought it was well worth studying.
Yeah. I think with me it was sort of like the naive high school student that was very interested in physics because black holes, string theory. So, I want to get into quantum physics. I want to be a quantum physicist.
My favourite buzzword.
And also I guess coming to uni it was like sort of there's a big culture shock about what physics I guess really is, and also maths really. But then the realization was that wow, maths is actually very different to what I thought it was, and it's actually very beautiful in its own sense. I guess that's why
it's got a lot of depth. Yeah,
for sure. Like, because when I did maths in high school, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I mean, I could do all the problems just fine, but like I just sort of hated the monotony of like grinding out the exact same problem with slightly different numbers.
Modifications.
Jeez. You do a page full of that, and then by the end of that, you understand maths somehow. And so that's why I had this flawed understanding of my sort of conception of maths by the end of high school. I'm like, well, I know everything there is to know about maths.
That's right.
Yep.
I just need to solve higher order polynomials.
Bigger equations.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
just
it.
some different equations, slightly bigger, maybe a bit more algebraic rearrangement, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, that's all of maths,
Yeah,
and then I
like
came to uni. And
I've peaked. Like differentiation, integration, that's it.
that's it. And then
That's
I've
it,
solved
yeah.
some easy
What
differential
else
equations.
is there to it?
What
That's
else
it.
is there to it?
Yeah. I could do, what was it, the logistic equation, and then
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
rough.
yeah.
and then like bam, now I've solved the hardest equation.
The hardest thing of all time.
And anything you can do from there, just add a few more like extra factors in there, like the Lotka-Volterra predator-prey model,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
and then bam, like
The
that's
mosquito population.
mosquito population, like
Yep.
a sort of rumor problem as well. That was you could also
How
solve
fast
that.
rumors spread.
I
Fast
do
numbers,
recall
yeah.
that. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And these are all problems like, okay, man, I can do all the maths now.
I could basically use maths everywhere.
Everywhere, in every case. That's right.
And then I came to uni and I realised that maths is a bit more than the hazy and hazy blue boxes, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Of course.
That's right.
And yeah, it's become less of a sort of a grind through and a bit more of an art form. I would say there's a lot more creativity.
More creativity. For
I guess
sure,
in the maths that I'm interested in, because primarily the thing that grabs me nowadays is pure maths, and I guess in some sense I am perhaps a pure mathematician wearing physicist clothing.
I would say
the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning is thinking about the beauty of maths, all the structures that are interrelated, and how you can sort of understand and learn a lot about what's going on under the hood in physics and I guess
through studying maths.
and other sciences
Yeah.
from studying maths.
No, I agree, and I think that's something that's not really emphasized too much because in high school as well as in university, you don't really have to study too much maths in order to do physics.
That's right.
And I think those people who are not really studying enough maths in physics, I think they're missing out on a lot. Particularly the theoreticians, not so much the experimentalists.
Experimentalists, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they can probably get by without knowing too much difficult pure mathematics, but in any case, yeah.
I mean, and I've heard it gets really rough in the postgrad physics courses, just because they don't have that mathematical background to work in where they're trying to work in. And they're sort of just like using all these formulas, but they're not really sure
you have
what
no
they're
idea
doing.
what's going on. Yeah, it's hard work.
I think that's a big problem.
I guess because in my experience, like the only sort of required mathematics course for a physicist in undergrad, at least at our uni, is to do a basic course in differential equations and a basic course in multivariable calculus, and then after that, you hypothetically never have to study maths again.
That's right.
That's right. Just for the maths, you just do physics courses.
Yes.
And while those two core ideas are very important, there's so many other sort of things that you need in order to be a good theoretical physicist. Like there's a lot of group theory that you need, Lie groups, Lie algebras, they pop up everywhere. And because we haven't formally learnt it in those courses, we have to learn it in the physics courses while we're also learning the physics. And so
That's right.
it becomes either a view of, well, we'll go over it but butcher it really badly because we're teaching it from a physics lens,
That's exactly
or
right.
we just skip over it and pretend that you guys already know it. And I've seen both approaches.
And either way, it's
Both approaches,
bad
yes.
outcome for the student, right?
Either way, darkness is upon us.
is key.
Is
yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah. So I guess, that's one lamenter that I've had
That's right.
in doing physics, and I've had thoughts of maybe I should be just doing maths instead. But yeah, I guess one way or another, studying physics is also, I think, important as well.
Yes.
And perhaps it's
With Cinti.
I can take my unique sort of interest of having that pure maths as well as doing some very applied physics topic to maybe
I
bring
think
something into the
integrating them would for sure make you a better physicist.
Yeah.
Like no doubt, doing mathematics does not hold you back from being a better physicist. Like I
Absolutely.
can't imagine it doing so.
If anything, it helps, right?
It just helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, little birdies tell me in physics that I'm wasting my time by doing pure maths, but this is again another thing that adds to the shit show that is the
The
physics,
physics department.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
But this is not a podcast to slam the physics department. This is I guess, us trying to be maybe a bit more positive and encouraging of I guess sort of going beyond the scope of what's
What's taught in the course?
what's taught in the curriculum.
Yeah,
what's
in high school curriculum,
In high school,
university
university,
curriculum.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
And a bit more like interdisciplinary, something that's we're pretty keen on. Like not just learning being very good at what you're doing in the field, but just being a bit more broad.
that's right.
Like
with
the fact that
learning.
we're not just the STEM podcast. Like it's number one priority is actually thinking in general.
Yeah.
That's
and
exactly right.
encouraging people
I mean,
to think.
I think we all-
what's our motto? Like
How not
I guess
what?
we can say how, not what, but I think
Yeah.
I mean we all have kind of interests. I mean we all like music. I
Yes.
particularly have a bent for philosophy. I very much like philosophy,
Yes.
and so I think we all like art in general.
Yeah.
So I think thinking in all of those areas is very much, albeit different kinds of thinking, but nonetheless
Thinking.
thinking. Yeah,
It's
exists
nonetheless there.
thinking,
Yeah, exactly.
Creativity, things like this.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I guess that's what can I say. I think me and Wesley. I think both of us are at the moment trying to decide whether or not we want to be physicists, mathematicians, or both.
Or
So
both, yeah. I think
We have-
Riley's a bit more determined to do maths than me right now.
I would
Still-
say so. Yeah, I think
Yep.
I think that stuff is very well worth pursuing.
Yeah.
I think I suppose the only worry is that I'm not quite sure if I have the grit to grind
the
out
grind.
grind out papers.
that's
math
true.
papers.
Yeah.
Tricky stuff there. Yeah.
And it's a bit unfortunate that the metric of how good you are as a researcher is how many papers you grind out, because that
Yes.
sort of encourages a quantity over quality sort of a regime.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to tell us that a bit more about that in just a second, because I think I guess now we're on to talking about what we generally are doing here with this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think with encouraging thinking, I think we're very much, this could become a full-time thing for, I guess, all of us. I think we're all very
Yeah.
much interested in spreading information about encouraging thinking, liking thinking, showing the relationships between different kinds of thinking, different areas of thought, how they're not really distinct.
Yeah.
In the end, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all just human beings solving problems. In the end, that's all. That's
right.
what we like to do. That's what we're pretty good at.
Yeah.
Making problems and then solving them. So yeah.
I guess with our motto, how not what, I'll just expand on that a bit. How not what sort of entails we want to teach people how to think and not what to think, because we sort of have an idea that, I mean, in our current society, the education system sort of focuses on what to think. They give you the facts and you regurgitate them and wow, you've learned something. But obviously we want to say that there's something more important behind it, is like how should we approach
Processes of
Yes.
thinking. Yeah.
what is the process behind these things, and like not just get taught the facts, but sort of be guided through this journey.
Yeah.
And think
Exactly.
how to think.
And
Exactly.
with that general process, you can really apply that to
Any
pretty much
field.
anything, right?
Yeah.
It's not just you learn one technique in maths and you can only use it in maths class. You learn another technique in English, you can only use it in English class. Like, no, you give the kids a framework of how to think in general, and
In general,
they
yeah.
can take it and apply it to any problem they could feasibly run into.
That's
And then
right.
you can show kids, not just kids, I mean even adults as well, right? I mean just anybody who's willing to learn. I guess as you get better at thinking, you get to form connections between things you've thought about, right? You
Yes.
might see connections in maths to something in biology, or something in physics to biology, maybe even something in philosophy to sociology, whatever, or some historical fact to something else, right? They're all kind of, the process of thinking itself helps you making those connections.
And that's
helps you-
precisely what leads to innovations. And
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
I mean that's the heart of everything, I suppose, worthy that human beings do, right?
Ah,
It's kind of that's the center around everything. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. So we kind of miss the point when we teach kids in particular, like the facts, right? Kind of list.
Yeah.
You list them. Remember these guys. Do these particular exercises, and don't worry too much about what's beyond the scope of the course or beyond the scope of the curriculum. Like
Kind of boxed in by the curriculum.
by
Yeah,
the
'cause you-
curriculum.
yeah, because then the journey of learning is not learning for the sake of learning. It's just learning so you can pass the tests, so you can do the next test,
That's exactly
and
right.
To then repeat.
ad infinitum, right?
To then repeat.
Yeah.
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 Or then when you get to the end of the top rung of the ladder, right? Then you're just like, oh, forget about all the things I've learnt now. I don't need them, right? Yeah. It's kind of completely misses the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 I mean, analogous to a researcher who needs to publish all the papers, students want to get these numbers and letters, on their transcript,
On
on
the-
their report
That's
card. It's like, what are we working so hard for? Just like these numbers and letters
Precisely.
that are meant to represent, our knowledge, but like it really doesn't. It's not a clear reflection. I believe that is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same with citations in the research community, like
All these arbitrary metrics.
metrics,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they don't really get at the heart of what it is to be a good researcher, what it is to be a good student.
Yeah, like really misses the point.
And again, it just comes down to the fact that we're trying to sum up essentially an entire person down to like a single figure.
Precisely,
You're
yeah.
compressing a lot of information.
Yeah,
down,
either a whole school career or a whole research career. Like, it's kind of
down to number of citations or how much you scored in that test. It's you can't. You're missing out on like maybe a lot of the important like differentiating characteristics that
Yes.
person will have over everyone else. Like, okay, maybe he didn't do so well in this topic in school, but he really excels at thinking outside the square. Maybe he's really creative.
That's exactly right.
But
That's
It's-
lost in
that's
that
lost.
number.
Yeah, and even like
letter.
when you say mathematics, people like say I'm bad at mathematics, but even like the mathematics thing is so big that it's like you could be great at logic or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you suck at group theory. Like there's
Yeah.
plenty of options for you to find your niche,
Yes.
right? Like
Mhm.
it's
But I think one thing that the school system sort of kills off in some sense is that because of partition all these facets of learning into classes, if you don't do so well at a class, you're very much discouraged from it, and then
right,
you fall into this trap of, and I hate this saying, and like you guys probably do too, but I don't have a maths brain, like for example.
Yeah.
I don't have a
or,
physics
or
brain.
X brain.
X
yeah,
brain.
yeah.
X brain.
I don't have an X type of brain. Yeah.
You sort of like immediately just throw out all possibility of you doing well or doing that sort of course.
Yeah,
Or just
exactly.
develop
At all.
nurturing it, right? Yeah, because all of these are skills, right? I mean, that's I suppose that's the other thing I've learned a lot is that you might struggle with something, but it doesn't mean you're like incapable of
Yes.
getting better at it, right? Like all of these things are just a process of just going through the process of learning something.
Yeah, sure, there might be like a little bit of like natural talent per se, or maybe some prior knowledge
Like
you came
intuition,
in,
like
intuition.
Intuition, yeah.
But I think most of the journey of learning something will be just from hard work. So
That's
it's
exactly
just-
right.
I guess that where you start off in the race is that little initial, I guess,
Hurdle, you could say,
hurdle,
yeah.
and the rest of the way you've got to put in the effort to learn it. So
That's right, yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, intuition definitely is not going to take you all the way, no matter what. no matter what you're learning. So
But when we sort of get put through the system, that's where sort of people get discouraged. And they're sort of just like, oh, nah, I can't do it anymore. Like, these grades,
That's right,
I'm getting
yeah.
these grades back, I'm really bad at it. I guess, that's
it's
what
sort of,
we
yeah,
sort of wanna-
it's okay for people to maybe not want to pursue it as a career, but I suppose to just
Yeah.
neglect the whole topic is kind of what it ends up being, though, right?
Yes.
It's kind of, oh, I wasn't too good at maths in high school, but I don't really care for maths at all. Or maybe not just maths, or history, or philosophy, or English, or whatever, literature. Like, they kind of discourage all the good aspects of a topic because they were bad, quote unquote, bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean, that's where sort of the stigma from maths comes from, right? Like, there's all this negative veil around maths. It's like, oh, maths, oh, it's boring. And
probably
like,
the average person I come across would say that they kind of either didn't do very well at maths or they think I'm an absolute genius for studying maths. Like when both those things are bogus. Like I'm not close to a genius.
Oh man, you study maths? What's 4,673 times 34?
That's right.
And that's sad. That's what people think maths is like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's really not like
Human calculator.
human calculations. Yeah, that's right. Like
3-year bachelor degree to become a human calculator.
by the end of your 3-year degree, you're an absolute god at arithmetic. Like
You just train that. You do like Kumons or something like until you can do all these problems in your head.
Yeah. No, I think there's, not just in maths, but it's very much, I think the education system obscures a lot of the point
Yes.
about why we learn things
For
in
sure.
the first place.
And sort of this is just one path we took, right? Like we took the physics and maths path, and we see all these problems. But
I can't speak for all the other problems people are probably having, and I'd be interested actually to hear what people have to say about other areas.
I mean, to some extent, I think a lot of these problems must be global.
Right.
We could always have this wishful thinking of, surely the grass is green on the other side. Maybe it's just our department in our university, or. But I'm sure because we all went through different high schools and all experienced these similar things.
That's right.
I mean, we've all been to the same university, but perhaps I'm sure in other unis, students everywhere sort of thinking this sort of similar thing.
That's exactly right. No, without a doubt, like there's probably no place where the education system is crystal clear, perfect, like utopia, so to speak. I definitely don't think that exists, but I mean, it's definitely clear that steps could be taken to improve some of these things, and clearly some of these things aren't actually working for helping kids actually be better thinkers.
Yeah. So what can 3 guys do about it?
I mean, that's a good question. I suppose this is just the beginning of something. I think, no doubt we're probably not going to try and enforce any particular solutions that we might come up with, but I think, I guess it's worth something also to maybe just bring up the problems that are out there and maybe just like throw ideas back and forth about what solutions they might have. Because, I mean, I think some problems are out there, especially in education, which is what we're concerned with, definitely needs some serious attention. So I guess we'll do what we can. How about that?
Yeah.
3 guys.
Do what we can.
Yeah, that's the point of this podcast, right? We just want to raise some awareness.
Throw some ideas out there.
That's right.
Some of them might be not feasible. I mean, we don't have too much of a background in working in education ourselves, but
that's exactly right. Yeah.
I guess we've all experienced the problems introduced by these sort of lacking areas in education.
In the system. Yeah.
I guess at the very least we can point it out, maybe make some suggestions of how it can be addressed. I guess as they say, like the first step towards fixing something is to identify the problem.
Precisely.
We've definitely identified it, I think.
Yeah. As we go along, I suppose we can become more and more precise about fully defining what the problems are. But at the moment, I think no doubt most people probably agree with us in saying that there probably are faults with the education system. I think I'd say that'd be the norm. I think it'd be pretty difficult to find somebody who'd say like, oh, perfect. No changes, like 10 out of 10.
Had a blast.
I'm sure most people are probably just impartial to it because they don't care either way. Like, it wasn't great, but I don't really care. You have the people who were, and then everyone else will be probably just really impacted by it. Like, not only like the top of the class, bottom of the class. Like, I think everyone's sort of like affected by it. Like, the top class is not getting the sort of extension they need to sort of see further topics beyond what's in the curriculum. Yeah. So they're not stretched as much, and then we also don't really adequately compensate for the people who are struggling in class. So by prescribing this one size fit all system, I guess in the interest of efficiency and grinding out heaps of degrees,
churning through them. Turn the handle.
Get the least amount of work to get the most amount of output.
Yeah. The current system is efficient, but I wouldn't say it's effective in the way that it does cater to a lot of people, but it also misses a lot of crucial information in the way it's like processing, I guess, students' abilities.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, no doubt we've definitely come a long way from let's say probably a few hundred years ago. The literacy rate would probably be not very high, right? Like, I think most people nowadays can at least write and read. So I guess that's something.
It's an improvement.
But no doubt, it doesn't mean we can't just raise the bar, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to keep the bar, let's make sure everybody can read. I mean, because that's not I don't think that's a very high bar to set, at least not in today's standards, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can talk about, what our overall holistic motivations are for this kind of thing. So what kind of particular things interested you guys in considering education as, I suppose, something to really be worth talking about? Not just on the systematic level, but...
Well, I guess just because education is just vitally important to society, right? It trains like the next generation of workers, of thinkers, of politicians, and especially with the latter, like these guys are making decisions for all of society.
Right.
So
Yeah, large groups
vitally
of people.
important for them to be well educated about science,
Lots of
general
areas.
issues,
Yeah.
how to deal with people, how to read into problems and come up with solutions, and again, just problem solving and critical thinking skills.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of universally applicable, aren't they? Like,
Right.
it's like irrelevant of whatever particular thing you're doing, those kinds of skills are pretty much necessary to do any task, whether you're a politician, scientist, mathematician, philosopher, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And teachers also, as it is, have a pretty rough gig. They're very much. I would say they're probably undervalued in society. They do quite a lot of work for us, like training up all these kids to make sure they have that firm foundation to moving on into the adult world, and they're sort of so busy, like with all the work they have to do and running the day-to-day activities in the classroom, logistically, having to babysit the kids essentially
Behavior
as well
management.
in like middle school, because kids are horrible in middle school.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
they
they run
definitely
through all this work and this pressure and stress that they probably barely have time to think about what can they do better with the system. They're just sort of keeping up with the status quo, and that's all their energy.
They get absolutely swamped with work. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if teachers come in really passionate and have some ideas that they can implement into the classroom to make things a little bit better, they have barely enough time to sort of think about that further and really develop it, because they have to sort of keep things running.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess maybe we need someone dedicated to think about these activities, and I'm sure a lot of people have sort of brushed under the rug because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
Precisely. Yeah.
Everyone's sort of just working in the system. They're just another cog, and they're just turning the wheel every day.
Churning the kids out.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
And maybe an individual teacher might not feel like they have that much power to change things. So it's got to happen at a higher level. So I guess for us, at the SACE board, say, right, someone's got to put through a motion. But even if you say worked at the SACE board, maybe you help develop the curriculum or day-to-day school activities. Then I'm sure that one person there might not be able to put a big motion through. Like you have to, put it through to some higher ups, and then they'll have a big meeting, and then they have to convince all the other higher ups to do it.
Yeah,
then they have to run it through some other checks, making sure the schools are on board, and then maybe it will take a few months to implement. So
things moving.
Making changes in the system, I'm sure would take quite a long time, just because of this this framework that's been built up.
It's hierarchy. I guess that's sort of our idea with doing something outside of the system and hopefully externally to be able to impact our current system. If we get enough people to sort of, I guess, notice us and to agree with us.
That's exactly right.
We have enough people to get along the hype train.
That's right. No, that's well said. Yeah, I think you guys pretty much nailed it. That's exactly right.
Perfect. And then, so I guess with this podcast, we'll be sort of spitballing out some ideas with maybe how we could fix some problems in education, and also as well just encouraging these critical thinking skills and.
Yeah, I think there's lots of room for us to explore different topics. Like we're all interested in lots of things. So if anybody here, Tom, Wesley, or I find something interesting to talk about, we could discuss that and relate it to something else potentially. Yeah, I think we definitely just want to just encourage liking thinking in general, and as a process, by doing thinking, you actually get better at thinking. And
yes,
that'd be great. That'd be great to show people.
Learning about things for the sake of learning. I mean, while a practical person might think, it's good to always ask the question, when am I going to use this in the real world? But
the classic.
Learning for the sake of learning is important as well.
Precisely, because the quote unquote real world came about from people actually thinking in the first place. Like I think, I think you miss out a lot on what it means to be, I don't know, guess you say human when you don't use those kinds of capacities, right?
Right.
Because as little kids, we are just innately curious about the
Curious,
world.
yeah. Creative, like we're not held back by particular ideas. Like we just like we love thinking on the fly, trying new things. Like
oh, what happens if I want to touch that object over to see how it feels?
Yeah,
like?
that's right.
No. Well, where am I going to see that object again in the real world? No, I just want to touch it. Like.
precisely, yeah.
And so maybe we've stifled that sort of curiosity in kids as they go through the school system.
That's exactly right.
As a kid, right? Like you'd always want to ask questions, right? I think that's like a stereotypical thing for a little kid. You're like, oh, why is the sky blue or something? And then you keep asking until someone goes, just stop asking and like, accept it, right?
Yeah.
And then I think that's when, as a kid, you start to get that idea that you should just stop asking and just accept things.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think sometimes it's important to keep asking, right? Obviously, you can get to this fundamental level where it just gets philosophical.
Yeah.
But I think there are stages where you can ask more questions and be curious. And that's where all the learning happens, I think.
Yeah, because sometimes when you pose the questions, you actually get closer and closer to the answer, I would say.
That's right. Or even just by asking the questions, you actually develop. Because
because then you're full about the problem.
You think about the problems, that's right, yeah. And look, I don't think lots of areas, I don't think some questions have answers. I mean, maybe there's an answer for a question in a different area, but nonetheless, I think, just being curious and asking questions is one of the key things about retaining our humanity, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's definitely one thing we'll try to do here. So I don't think we'll try to restrict ourselves to any particular topic of discussion. Right. We'll try and do...
Yeah, even though we're all sort of STEM-oriented, we can still have a lot of freedom to talk about a lot of things. Again, like, the key thing is just, encouraging sort of thinking in its own right.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So hoping to reach a wider range of audience, because I think, or for me, I think personally, there's a big disconnect between STEM and non-STEM fields. But actually, I think if you look sort of at the bigger picture, it's actually quite connected in a lot of ways. And obviously, one way we're taking the approach is like about thinking, and that it's used in both fields, although it could be a bit different. But I think it's nonetheless something important that we should emphasize.
That's right.
So I think this podcast hopefully can reach not just STEM people and just people who want to
not even people in education system, students, adults, I don't care. Like I'm not fussed. Anyone,
anyone with a brain.
Yeah, anybody,
all of us.
Anybody who's curious and I don't know, give it a bother listening to three guys from Adelaide talking about the world's issues. I think, I mean, feel free.
So I don't know, like how regularly we'll make these, but I guess while we still have things to talk about, and we definitely do have a lot of things that we can talk about, we'll keep this going. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah. I think in the future we want to maybe, well, it depends, I guess, because currently with our workload and everything, but we do want to we do want to try and put out some like actually educational content, I guess, for university level studies.
That's right.
I think Khan Academy was something in my first year of maths that something really helped me. But I think towards the later years of study, you sort of lose that type of resource.
The resources.
Because it doesn't go beyond to like the grad level.
Yeah. And like 3 Blue 1 Brown, I guess, is also a very good resource for maths. I guess it's sort of not related to specific topics in uni, and I guess sometimes it's either too easy or it's too hard. But I think we're sort of at the medium, we can put out some content for university level students.
For that
math
intermediate
and physics
zone. Yeah, that's right.
For that in-between zone. Yeah. Especially with physics, I think like there's not many physics resources that I find online on YouTube.
It's pretty scarce. So that could definitely be something we could do.
Yeah.
I think,
But that sort of future project, I guess.
I think we have a lot of ideas, so this is one of them. So this is the beginning of one of them. So
we'll see how if this keeps on going, and hopefully it will.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. I think
anything else you guys wanted to say for this episode 0?
Episode 0. I mean,
rapid reflections.
Rapid reflections. I just see. I mean, I guess we kind of touched on our actual process through the system by talking about all the problems.
Yes,
it's clear that that's what we're on about. So, no, I think that's all for this episode.
It's good for this episode. Yeah. So just a quick introduction to who we are, and stay tuned to listen to us talk more.
And thanks for listening to, again, 3 random guys from Adelaide.
That's right.
A bit disillusioned with their system.
Great. All right. See you guys.
All right. Thanks. See ya.